Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor Lane here. You can find me on social media at Trevor_Lane on Twitter, at Trevor Lane NBA on Instagram and Facebook. Joined by Keith Smith. You can find him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, big day. I brought my Lakers background. You're wearing your Celtics shirt. Let's go. We're going to have a fun time on the Lakers Nation postgame show tonight. Both of us on there to talk about our two teams playing each other.
Yeah, well, our two teams, maybe for everybody watching, you saw me do air
Yes,
quotes around teams because both teams are banged up. But we'll get into that a little
we
bit
will.
later. We get some news to cover first, and then we'll get into what's going to happen tonight. But yeah, hopefully you're not watching one of the final last couple episodes of NBA Front Office
That's right.
Show.
Hopefully we can get through a Lakers Celtics postgame without killing each other, which I think will be successful,
I
Keith.
think we'll be
I'll be
fine. Yeah.
nice.
And like I said, as long as it doesn't end in a Rajon Rondo game winner, then I'm
You're
good.
going to speak it into existence. You keep bringing that up.
At this point, maybe.
We do have a lot to get into, and our main topic for this segment today is Ben Simmons. So I don't even know if this is Simmons siren worthy or not.
Yeah,
It's close, but
I don't have it queued up, so we'll say
we'll
no.
say no then. We'll go with no because of that. But apparently, the 76ers, according to Sam Amick, have a list of players that they would trade Ben Simmons for. And there's 30 players on that list. That sounds like a lot of players. And on one hand, we've heard that the 76ers are, they're driving a hard bargain here for Ben Simmons. They want a lot for him. But 30 players, that doesn't mean every single player on the list is going to be an all-star. I'm sure there's going to be some other guys. I am curious. I'm sure there's some names on there like Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? That just it's not going to happen. But still, interesting that the 76ers do have a list put together of guys where, hey, if this guy is offered, we're going to do the deal.
Yeah, I think the number seems a little overwhelming at
Sure.
first when you hear 30 players, because like you said, that means that there's definitely some non-all-stars in
But
there.
when you
But
start saying the
my guess is
names,
everyone,
yeah.
yeah, every one of these guys is either a near all-star or a very former recent
Mm-hmm.
all-star. Let's put it that way with some of them. So yeah, that becomes very interesting. And as you probably get closer down to the 20 to 30 range, it probably becomes we want this guy and these other players or picks or whatever it may be. I think the interesting thing is now we're starting to hear a couple names
Yes.
pop out from that list. Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer reported Jeremy Grant and James Harden are two of the names on the list. Well, no, probably real surprise there. Harden, they tried to trade for him
Mm-hmm.
before with Ben Simmons. The one of the working theories is Harden did not sign a contract extension, so maybe he could actually be available potentially in a trade that involves Simmons. And then Jeremy Grant, the discussion there is that there have already been talks held on a deal that centers around the two of those players. It sounds like the holdup is what else would go in that type of trade. But Jeremy Grant, former Sixer, started his career there before he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2016. So a couple interesting names to kind of give a little bit of flavor of what Philly might be looking
Jeremy
for.
Grant was on one of those hinky special contracts, wasn't he? Where it was a second,
Yes.
he was non-guaranteed, like a 4-year deal,
Yep.
and the last 3 years are non-guaranteed and things like that
Yeah, with a
with team
team
options.
option at the
Yes,
end.
right.
And
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly
And
what
so
it
that
was.
would be interesting as a target for them. I don't know, like that. When I hear the name James Harden and you hear Jeremy Grant, we're talking about two different tiers here of
Sure.
players. I mean, I like Jeremy Grant a lot, but I am curious what else the 76ers would want in addition to Jeremy Grant. And would the Pistons even be willing to pay that? Detroit not being a free agent destination. I mean, these are the teams that we said to keep an eye on, right? The teams who aren't free agent destinations, who aren't going to get a star caliber player, might see this as an opportunity
Hmm.
to land somebody like that. But I did think it was interesting in the Amick piece. They also mentioned that the 76ers believe that teams around the NBA are now less motivated to trade for Ben Simmons as this has continued this whole process. And part of it is the mental health concerns. Because the teams, if you're a team that's trading for Ben Simmons, you have to be convinced that whatever is going on with Ben Simmons, right? And there's been questions about exactly how serious this is and all of that. But if you're trading for Ben Simmons right now, you have to know with certainty that the mental health concerns are going to go away once you trade for him. That the problem is that he's a Philadelphia 76er, and that's going to be alleviated, because otherwise, who's to say that he's prepared mentally to step on the floor if you execute a deal right now?
Yeah, and on the flip side of that too, it's not necessarily the greatest look in the world if you trade for him and then
Absolutely.
instantly I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play for you. So you've got some he and you have some explaining to do around the idea of, hey, we really like it really was Philadelphia that was
Right.
holding him back and causing him this mental issues and those kind of things. So let's see where that ultimately lands with that. I thought the other thing that was interesting out of this piece, go read it. Sam Amick really went in depth on the
Mm-hmm.
Athletic, really good stuff. But one of the other things he mentioned is that there's a belief that 5 to 10 star players from Philadelphia's side will become available within the next 2 seasons. So they're basically saying they're no longer kind of harping on the whole, this might be a 4-year thing. He's under contract. But it does sound like they're saying, hey, if it doesn't happen this year, we think guys will pop free. Now, we can quibble over the number, the
Right.
5 to 10, but someone, yes, we know how the NBA works. Some star player will become available between now and then, probably 2 or 3 of them, probably because we're in an environment where a lot of guys are locked into contracts. There's not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
cap space. The only way for moves to happen is going to be via trade. So, yeah, I don't think they're uh, betting on the wrong thing if you're the Sixers. It's just kind of interesting to think through that thought process of this may not resolve itself this year. And I continue to believe just get this done. I get why December 15th is the date because then a lot of guys can be moved that can't be right now. But sometime between then and the trade deadline on February 10th, let's get this thing done. You can't go into another whole off season with this kind of hanging over the team. That seems almost unfathomable
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, absolutely. That's my question, right? When you say in another 2 years or whatever, like, are they really gonna just sit with Ben Simmons on their bench for two
Yeah,
years, eating up space, not providing anything? Like, that to me
yeah.
is Philadelphia maybe pushing back a little bit about, hey, we're still willing to wait. There's no pressure on us, that sort of thing. While at the same time saying, teams might not be quite as motivated as we would have hoped right now to get a deal done.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's get into some injuries and some players who are going to be coming back. OG Anunoby for the Raptors may be out for a bit with a hip pointer. Not an ideal situation there. He's been a big piece of this Raptors team, so hopefully he's able to come back
Hmm.
sooner rather than later. But again, out for a while, that's a bit ominous.
Yeah, anytime you get that for a
Yeah,
while kind of disclaimer thrown on there, that's always concerning. And that is an injury that guys have struggled to come back from because we know in basketball there's a lot of twisting, running, jumping, getting knocked to the floor, having to bounce back up. Though those are all things that become an issue. And yeah, this team just got Pascal
hmm,
Siakam back. In a lot of ways, I think they've lost 3 in a row. They're down to 7 and 9 now. They've kind of backslid in the standings. I think down to where I think a lot of us expected them to probably be. And a big chunk of the season was figuring out how do all these pieces fit together. We've got some of these guys signed long term: Siakam, Anunoby, Van Vliet, Gary Trent Jr. now are all signed at least for the next few years. And then we've got Scotty Barnes, our prized rookie. How do they all fit together? Well, so far they've fit together pretty good as a 5-man unit. They looked all right there. So you're just losing data points. That's kind of the main thing here is losing out on that. Now that's tough. So let's see where this goes. Now they're 7 and 9. I tend to believe, right? Remember when we were doing our preseason predictions? I kind of just threw them in the middle because it was like, this is not
right.
where they're going to be. They're either going to be better than this or they're going to be way worse because Masai will start selling off pieces. If we get to, let's say, a month from now, we're post Christmas, and they're 7 or 8 games under 500. Is that enough for Messiah to say, all right, let's start looking at what are we breaking up here, moving off of this roster, and how do we go? Because I'm just not sure this is going to be a team that actually competes for a
Yeah,
playoff spot.
agreed. We'll see what winds up happening with them, but obviously this is not going to help with Anunoby. Marc Gasol not done playing. He's going to play a bit in Spain. Going to play for Girona. I'm sure I'm saying it incorrectly, but he's going to be playing for
Someone tell us in
yes.
the comments who knows how to correctly pronounce
But he
it.
will be playing in Spain. Good for good for Mark. Hopefully we know he loves playing over there, so hopefully he is able to find success there. Of course, near the end of his career, but good to hear that if he's willing and he feels like he's still capable of getting out there, why not keep playing, man?
Yeah, I don't think he had to work very hard to convince ownership and
Probably
the guy who
not.
runs the
It's
team
him.
because they're both
That's right.
him. So it sounds like this is a let's help my second division team out a little bit on the
Mm,
court, and he probably feels like I've got a little bit left to give. Well,
sure.
let's see what this looks like, and we've seen this in the past. Maybe he looks better than he thought, and I'm not going to say an NBA return, but maybe then he is more open to, what, I will join Barcelona at a high level league in Spain and in the Euro League and those kind of
Mm.
things and go that direction. But for now, he's going to play for his own club that he owns in the second division in Spain, and let's see where it goes.
I mean, hey, if Didier Drogba can play for Phoenix Rising and get a little ownership stake there, why not? Why can't Marc Gasol do something like that too?
Why
Kevin
not, right?
Durant. Kevin Durant, man, shoulder issues. Shams Charania saying that he's going to be out
Yeah.
for tonight's game. That's red flag for the Nets. Hopefully, this isn't anything serious, but the Nets have not had the margin for error that we thought they would heading into the season. So any extended absence for Durant could be a big problem for Brooklyn.
Yeah. I think what is interesting here is we talked about this in the context of the Nets Warriors game. The Nets margin for error is just not really good
Mm-hmm.
right now, especially when they don't have Kyrie Irving in there, and now you're down to James Harden and the rest. So let's see what that looks like. Here it's Orlando, so you would hope they'd still have enough
Yeah.
to get by the Magic, but the Magic just went in and beat the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks. Something about the Magic playing in New York seems to get them going. So well, let's see what that looks like. But yeah, it's if this is a one game thing,
Right.
fine. It's not a story. We move on and we go. If this starts to become a thing where he's in and out of the lineup and they can't get it right, all of a sudden that Nets team, which I think we both picked to make the finals. I don't remember, but if we didn't, I know we had them at least
Yeah.
probably in the East finals, as did most folks. And here we are. Well, what is that going to look like for them and Kevin Durant if he can't get
Yeah,
past
it's
this?
gonna be something to follow. Again, like you said, if it's a one game thing, no big deal. If it ends up being more, this could become a much bigger deal for not just the Nets, but also for the NBA. Rudy Gay looks like he will finally make his season debut. He's been rehabbing a heel injury, was one of the big signings of the offseason for the Utah Jazz, a guy they thought was going to fit very well, and looks like he is going to be making his debut. So
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was looking at Twitter.
yes,
Rudy
yep.
Gay, was that what you said? Yeah, he played last night,
Oh,
actually.
I missed it. I
I
was
don't.
behind a
Yeah.
day on my
Yep.
notes here. I was behind a day on my notes.
You did it. So all right. So that makes me feel better for my little faux pas there. So now we're even. I played, and not only did he play yesterday, but hold on, I'm trying to get
I've
that
got it.
box
He put up
score
20
to pull up.
on
He
seven
had
of eight
20
shooting,
points.
5 of 6 from this is what happens,
Yep.
Keith. When you step away from basketball for a little bit, this is the way it goes. Your first time back, you are either on fire and you can't miss, or it's like you've forgotten how to ride the bike and you're just god awful. For Rudy
Yeah.
Gay, he was on fire.
Yeah, 7 of 8 from the field, 5 of 6 from three, 20 points. All right, it's not going to be that every night of the week, clearly for Rudy Gay and the Jazz, but this is what they signed him to do: is give them that extra front court depth, a little bit of scoring size at the forward position, which the only real kind of size scorer that they have is Bojan Bogdanovic. So now Gay gives them another guy who can do that. They've gotten a lot of mileage out of Hassan Whiteside. He's really kind of only in there for about the 10 to 15 minutes that Rudy Gobert doesn't go on a nightly basis, and he's been fine in that
Mhm.
role. So a little bit more depth for a Jazz team that their top 9 is probably about as good as anybody's in the league right now, and they look pretty good. That top of the West is tough with Utah and Phoenix up there, because Phoenix is not slowing down at all either.
Right.
They're starting to really round into form. So it's going to be fun to watch those two compete probably back and forth for the number 1 seed the
Yeah,
rest of the
Phoenix has
season.
won 10 in a row at this point.
Yeah.
Rui Hachimura back to practicing with the Wizards. We've talked before about, there's some questions about, okay, where does he fit into the Wizards rotation right now? Now they've added some pieces, but still good to hear that that he's getting back into action and potentially could be returning to the team somewhat soon once he gets his legs under him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a long time
Yes.
personal absence. There's been some speculation it was COVID related, some speculation potentially other things related. So we don't exactly know what the story is there, but yeah, it's definitely good to see him back. And this is a Wizards team that's been back and forth with injuries with a few key guys, especially
Mhm.
up front. So having another guy who can slide in and play the four is not a bad thing at all
All
for them.
right, and to finish things up, Klay Thompson is now playing 5-on-5. That's typically when in
That's
terms of
getting
a guy
close.
returning to the NBA, they go through steps. And the first one of those steps is, okay, you're going to play 1-on-1. Then you're going to play 2-on-2. They slowly ramp up there because the more players you add onto the floor, the more variables there are, the more things that you have to just instantly react to that you can't anticipate. And so there's going to be a little bit higher injury risk as you add those things in. It's going to be a little bit more of a strain on the body. And so now you've got a full 5-on-5 participation for Klay Thompson. That tells you that he is really close to coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm an idiot, I said the Suns and Jazz battling for the number one seed, and I left the Warriors completely
I did not
out
catch
of
that.
that mix. Who is the number one seed with the
Yeah,
best record in basketball now? Also, an absolute ridiculous 13.7 points per game scoring differential with the Warriors
incredible.
right now. They just look absolutely awesome. So yeah, they're going to get him back, and the good news is too he can come back, and if it takes him 30, 40 games to get up to some level of speed and feeling good, they're fine. They've got more than enough depth to get by. They're getting contributions from all sorts of guys on that roster. They are really playing good
Yeah.
basketball in
Yeah, they
Golden
have been
State.
extremely impressive so far this season. Well, that's about it for this one. We will be back later today with another episode. Got a lot more to break down. We're going to talk a little bit Lakers Celtics. We're also going to talk a bit about GMs potentially organizing, what that might mean. John Wall potentially on the move. So a lot to get into later on today. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that one, and make sure you are subscribing right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Turn on notifications as well. Till then, stay safe and see ya.